So let me now turn to the contributions by Joshua Angrist and Guido Imbens. So the early applications of natural experiments raised new questions about exactly which conclusions about causality can one draw from a natural experiment. A big difference between a clinical trial and a natural experiment is that in a natural experiment, the researcher does not have full control over who really participates in an intervention. So imagine a researcher who wants to analyze how biking or cycling affects health, so the health effects of improved biking. This researcher notices that there are two very, very similar companies closely to each other with similar employees. But in one of these companies, the employer gave its employees a bike for Christmas in order to make them commute to work by cycling. So this is a natural experiment. However, the employees who got the bike for Christmas will be very differently affected by this natural experiment. Some will now start to cycle. Some would have cycled anyway and will continue to do that. And some will still leave the bike at home and take the car. Similarly, in the control company, the company without the Christmas gift, or at least without the bike for Christmas, there will be people that cycles anyway. There will be some that would have started to cycle if they had gotten a bike, and there will be others who would still have taken the car. Even more confusing for this poor researcher is that the health effects of cycling is probably quite different for these three different types of individuals. Perhaps it's the guy who still takes the car who would have benefited the most from cycling. So how is it possible in such a setting to say anything about causal effects, and for whom? In an influential study in 1994, Joshua Angrist and Guido Imbens answered these questions. Importantly, they showed that it's still possible to estimate a well-defined causal effect of an intervention, even when the researcher cannot control who takes part in the intervention and when the effect of the intervention differs between individuals. Importantly, this effect will only be valid for those who actually change their behavior because of the natural experiment. So in our example, it will be for those who now start to cycle to work because they got a gift. This effect has been called the local average treatment effect, the LATE. The researcher will never be able to tell exactly who these people are, but it's possible to determine how large the group is and also to describe it. When deriving these key results, Angrist and Imbens also developed a transparent framework that had turned out to be extremely useful for researchers working with data and has also been widely adopted. By clarifying the underlying assumptions, this framework increased transparency in empirical work and thereby also credibility of empirical work.